just finished our 5th practice, and guys are spirited. They're working very hard. We haven't had a positive test for over a month, so it feels like that football is if you do what you're supposed to do is not going to be a problem. With the guys getting sick, it's outside, and we have created a bubble since early, and the guys are understanding that if you'll wear your mask, if you'll social distance, if you'll wash your hands, the risk is low, and that's what all the people across the country are telling us, and they're doing a good job with that. They're really working at social distancing in practice. Doctors are also telling us not to either wear your double shield on your helmet at all times or have your mask up, one of the two, and the guys are working hard at that. We have each of them have their own separate water bottle or Gatorade bottle, so they're never touching anybody else's. We have the doors where most of them are open, so they don't have to open a door by themselves. And we feel like from everything we've heard that the sweat from one player to another or touching the ball is not going to spread the virus. So we feel very comfortable after 5 days of practice and a lot of walkthroughs and workouts in the last month that we're handling this well. Our medical team has put us in a really good position, and the guys are safe. The guys, some of the classes are remote, but we did have a lot of guys go to class yesterday. Each one of them said they felt very comfortable, said that all the students on campus wore masks. They also said that the teachers wore a mask and that there were not a lot of people in the classrooms, and the chairs were more than 6 feet apart. So they felt very, very comfortable in the classroom, and we've gone through. We're lucky that we've got an indoor area that was designed by Coach Fedora that's got 24 fans in it. So we've got 8 fans in each end and then 8 fans up top. And then we've got a lot of the garage doors that we can open. So it's like we're out of the sun, but at the same time, we're in a position where our guys can work like it's outdoors, but have a lot of air circulating through, because doctors have told us if you can get fans behind you and keep the air moving, that helps. And we have constant air moving throughout practice the entire time. We've talked to the guys about if any of you don't feel good, just don't practice. Go tell the trainer, stay out. We've got great medical help. I think Trevor Lawrence probably said it the best, but a lot of these young people have better doctors and trainers and availability to good food and nourishment here better than they would have at home. So we've told the guys, don't practice at all if you're uncomfortable. Just stay out, stay with the trainer, stay with the doctors. When you feel comfortable, come back. If you practice 10 periods and you feel uncomfortable, you feel hot, you feel like you're not breathing as well, anything that you feel at all puts you in an uncomfortable spot, then don't practice. Just go somewhere else and do something else. We talk to them every time we have a team meeting about where we feel like the state of college football is. It's a roller coaster when you read and hear what you think's happening out there. So I've told them that as soon as we know something, we will let them know immediately, but they need to prepare to play. And if we do play, it's great. If you don't play, you're actually going through spring practice to get ready for spring or a delayed season. So there's still a lot of options out there. All of them are based on medical concerns from what I understand. So I've told the players, if they decide not to play, then it's because they didn't feel like it was safe for you, and that's good enough reason. We shouldn't play if they don't think it's safe. If it's safe, we can play, and the guys want to play, and they've shown they want to play, and ours are 100% that they're excited about playing and working really hard. So you would not have known any difference in practice today with their attitude than in camp last year. So it's they're in a good place right now moving forward. So what we're trying to do is, like you, we're just waiting and listening till final decisions are made. I'm really proud of our chancellor and our athletics director, because they've given us everything we need to be safe. And it looks like Kevin has done an amazing job of having the classrooms and the faculty prepared for the students to return. The guys even said they had people standing and opening doors for them, so they didn't have to touch doors going in. So they could go into a classroom, wear a mask, everybody wore a mask, and they didn't have to touch anything. So I think, again, we're handling things as well as we could possibly handle them. I'm proud of our medical staff. I'm proud that we're at a university that's got enough money to make sure the kids are safe, and we ask them every day. Again, this morning we practiced. We met at 6:30. We practiced from 8:15 to 10:15. This morning we said, if there's anything you're concerned about, tell us, and we'll address it. Questions?
Okay, just a reminder, if anyone has questions, please raise their hand. We will begin with Deanna King.
Hey, Coach. Thanks for being on.
Thanks, Deanna.
We haven't talked to you since last Thursday. The news broke that you guys added Charlotte to the schedule. Speak a little bit about Charlotte in general and what job Coach Healy has done for the 49ers.
Yes, Deanna. Number one, Will Healy's a great friend of mine. I appreciate what he's done. I followed him at Austin Peay when I was with ESPN, and he did an amazing job of taking a team that didn't win any games and put them one step from the playoffs. And I thought he probably should have been in the playoffs that year. And he's done the same thing at Charlotte. He's got spirit. He's very bright. Players love him. And he's still disciplined and can push them. And everything we've heard, he's done a great job with the pandemic and all the stuff around it. I talk to him quite often. Also, I think it was good that we could play a team within our system, because if we can, with the one game out of conference, by staying in the UNC system, that means we're sharing money within our state. And I think that was important as Rick Steinbacher and Bubba started looking at who to play. So we're excited about it.
Thank you.
Thank you. And the players have a bunch of buddies on the team, so they're excited about it too. Even Coach Dre Bly's son's on that team. So it'll be a fun game.
All right, Todd Gibson, you're up next.
Hey, Coach, the hashtag We Want to Play is kind of raging all over college football right now. How much power, I guess it'd be easy for the administrators to kind of dismiss the players. Of course they want to play. In your estimation, how much power maybe should the players wield in this whole endeavor to get college football off the ground here in the fall?
I think, Todd, it's a message that they do want to play. And we're seeing in a lot of different areas, the players want to be heard more than they've been heard in the past. And I think that's a good thing. We're in a time where people are being asked to speak up about everything they feel. Because somebody says something doesn't mean they're right or wrong, but we all should listen. And we need to learn to honor each other's differences. And that's one thing I'm very proud of with our team. We talk to them all the time about every issue that we possibly can. And we want them to ask us. And sometimes we'll say, wow, I've never thought of that. And I think this is a situation where young people were not prompted to say they want to play. But if none of them had said anything, or if some had said, I don't want to play, and I think the count the other day was 45 had opted out from across college football, and that's a small percentage. And we should applaud them if they didn't feel comfortable for stepping out. But if guys want to play, and the quarterbacks, a lot of them are the ones speaking out first because they're kind of the spokesperson for the team, then I think we do need to listen.
Coach, do you think also that it seems like the tide has turned overnight as far as the Big Ten is concerned? I'm not sure how much information you've got on that. Could that be due to the fact that the players have been so forceful in talking about the fact that they do want to play?
I think the only reason we wouldn't play is if it's not healthy for the players. And the medical people know that. So regardless of what the coaches say or the players say, if it's deemed it's not healthy, then we're not going to play. And that's the right thing to do. I think one thing that the players have probably done is by saying, let us play, we want to play. Then what people might do is slow down, because we're learning more about the virus every day, and let's wait and look at every possible option, since they want to play so badly, that we can make sure they're safe and still play. And I think that's probably what everybody's looking at right now. Let's take a deep breath, make sure they're safe, and then look at options. Is it safe to start when we want to? Will we move it back a little bit more because we'll know more about the virus in 4 more weeks? Or do you move to spring? And that seems to be the options that everybody's looking at. So I'm really proud right now. I've said openly that I do think we need a commissioner of college football so we can all be talking instead of this one and this one and this one. We're so splintered right now with everything. It seems to me it would be better if we were all on the same page, but hopefully we're getting there. And commissioners are talking, and leagues are talking, and trying to figure out what's best for everybody. And I really do not have any feeling at all that we would play just for money. Nobody's going to put a young person at risk. And that's what these decisions will be made on in the end.
Okay, thanks, Mack. Appreciate it.
Okay, next up in the queue is Jared Fialco.
Hey, Coach. Great to see you, bud. You guys have clearly demonstrated, if you haven't had a positive test in over a month, that your players and your staff are disciplined. Does the real challenge and the real threat become then when more students return to campus? And is almost that a greater concern for you at that stage, worrying that it's the kids, it's the other students who are not as disciplined as your guys?
Jared, it's a great point. We've talked at length about that, because we came back by ourselves and we came back in phases. Early, we'd bring in 40, then we'd bring in 20, and they went for 3 weeks without a positive, and then somehow somebody got one, and then you get another one, and then you've got to stop and take a deep breath and see why. What happened? Was it football? Was it something we were doing? Was it some young man that went outside the bubble and met with somebody who was infected and they brought it back? And then one of the worst things about the bubble, or about the virus, is it spreads so quickly. And that's what they talk about, community spread. It's like wildfire. When it starts, it just goes. So we've since we had our positives back early, I think our guys have learned a really good lesson, that this is real and it's serious, and that we need to take it very seriously. And I've told them, what's the difference in going to the grocery store or going to a classroom if you take care of yourself and you're wearing a mask, and everybody in the classroom is going to have a mask, and people on campus are going to have a mask, and keep your social distancing. And it seems like that's working. And I've also told the players, if we found out or heard that you were someplace you shouldn't be, around people that are not part of our bubble, then we've got to either quarantine you or ask you to leave the team, because you can't be around us if you're not going to be able to be disciplined enough to understand this is about your academics and football for the next 3 months. And that's it. Their social life is not part of who any of us are right now. And it's different for all of us. And I've told them, if you want to play, then you stay safe, number one. Secondly, if you want to be a good teammate, don't bring the virus back to others that have had negatives and have taken care of themselves, because that's a huge part of your discipline this fall, is making sure that you're a good team member and you go by the guidelines. And all of our guys have said, wear a mask and help us play. And I saw, again, Dr. Fauci said this morning, if everybody wears a mask, then we can slow this thing down and get control of it again. So we've all got to wear a mask, and that's what we do. And I keep this thing all day. We do not have anybody in our office without mask on. I do not walk down the hallway in our building without my mask on. And I asked the players and the coaches today, don't talk to anybody without your mask on. Be respectful. because they have said if you've got your mask on, there's a lot lower risk. Wear a mask. That's all we're asking, and we can do that. And I'm even getting to a position now where I don't even know that I've got it on some. And that's we're going to have to do this till we get this thing under control to make sure everybody's safe.
Thank you, Coach.
Thanks, Jared.
Okay, over to Andrew Jones.
Hey, Coach, with everything kind of seemingly at a crossroads right now, sort of a fork in the road, rather, and all the attention that this story has been getting, even with the president chiming in yesterday, with your opening comments today, do you feel like maybe that's your part in having a part on that stage to get the message out there? Because there is a lot of misinformation that's being reported that people are bandying about. So you kind of take a little extra responsibility with what you've been telling us the last 15 minutes?
Absolutely, Andrew. I met with the staff twice yesterday just to give them updates on what I had heard, because I don't want them wasting their time reading misinformation. And the same thing with the players. If I had had anything definitive yesterday, we've got Teamworks where we send information to our staff and our players immediately. We have a rule anytime that we can. We would rather make sure that our staff and our players know something before we say it publicly, because that's family and we don't want them to be caught off guard. And at the same time, last night we met as a team and I talked to them about what I knew and what I'd seen and what I'd heard. And I told them, like they come up and say, is the Big Ten not playing? And I said, we don't know that. So take a deep breath. Wait till you get it from us. You need to worry about taking care of yourself and being safe. You need to worry about your academics, and you need to worry about your football. Let me worry about whether we're going to play or not. And we've told them that as soon as we know something definitive, we will let you know. But we've also told them you didn't have a spring practice. So if they decide in 2 weeks that we're not going to play, practice to the best of your ability to get better as a team, because we had 10 bowl practices. We've already had 5 practices now. That's 15. That's what we would have had in spring practice. So let's use this to get better. We're using it to get to see a lot of the young guys and get to evaluate them. Right now, in fact, we're coaching the older ones some, but the older ones are helping the young ones. And they're coaching them. And we're working the young ones more than we're working the older ones, because we want to make sure that we find out who they are. And we've got to create depth, and that's one way to do it.
Bo Corrales tweeted out something, I guess it was Sunday. He's someone that has one of the underlying conditions that is of concern. And he acknowledged that, he embraced it, and said that he still wants to play. And he generated a little bit of buzz on Twitter. Have you talked to him about that maybe before he was going to put that out there, or since then? And what are your thoughts about what he said?
No, Andrew, we actually tell the guys to always show class and be professional, but share your opinions with people that you want. And I have asked them if sometimes I'm in a hurry or I may misspell something. So if I'm going to send something out, I always ask Jeremy to read it and look at it to make sure it's got good grammar and that I haven't misspelled a word. And I always blame it on spell check. I'm not sure that's fair, but it's easy for me to say, spell check. Yeah, we've got at least a scapegoat. But I want our guys to share. And I did sit down and talk to Bo. I love Bo. And Bo he's made as much progress as a person since we've been here as anybody else. Last year it was really bothering him, and he'd missed practice and he'd missed class, and he has got complete control right now of his diabetes. And we said, we told them all, you don't have to play. He wants to play. And you've just got to give him credit for doing that. And at the same time, we tell the players, take care of these others. You got Javon DeWitt out here that had cancer last year. We've told the players, take care of him. Don't walk around without a mask around him. That's your responsibility if we're going to do that. We've got Coach Kenny Browning out here in his 70s and Coach Darryl Moody out here in his 70s. Take care of these guys. Let's be smart. It's not just about you. It's about everybody. But we have told our guys that you use your social media for anything that you feel passionate about. And then if they put something on there that we disagree with afterwards, we would bring them in and say, I wouldn't have done this, and here's why. Not yelling at them, but just trying to teach them, because that's our job of how I would have handled this a little differently and still got the same message out.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, over to JB Ricks. You're up next.
Hey, JB.
Hey, Coach, thank you so much for taking out the time as usual. Obviously, you know about all the news that has taken place over the past 48 hours and the momentum, you know, kind of like where it's shifting towards the possibility of all the conferences shutting down. There's also rumors out there, whatever. I believe the Nebraska coach had a soundbite this morning about teams going forward, even if conferences decide to shut it down. I don't know if that means they're going to do scrimmages or they're going to set up their own type of exhibitions or whatnot. Have you heard anything of that matter, or is anything like that on the table for you guys if the conference schedules get shut down?
JB, I've heard none of that. But I feel like that our league is a league that wants to play, and that's important. That message is out there, and I applaud our league for doing that. When you've got medical consultants, you've got presidents and chancellors, you've got athletics directors, you got faculty reps, you got coaches, you got young players, you got fans, you got top boosters. There's a lot of opinions right now on this thing, and the only thing that matters is if the medical people say the kids are safe. That's the only thing that matters. The rest of it, opinions do not matter. And I think that's what everybody's trying to decide is is it safe, when it's safe, how's it safe, and that's what we want. The doctors know that the kids want to play. The doctors know the coaches want to play. But it's the doctor's responsibility to make sure that they keep the kids safe. And I totally understand that. And what I would do if they said our league's not playing, the first thing I would do is talk to Kevin and Bubba and say, does this mean we're through for the year? And what does that mean? Because I would rather someone be in a position, if they're not going to let us start on time at some point, tell us, but also tell us what that means. Does that mean we're going to start in October? Does that mean we play 8 games instead of 10? If someone says, no, we're going to move to spring, what does that mean? We've got to answer to parents, and we've got to answer to kids, and they're all going to ask. Seniors, pro prospects, early enrollees coming in, guys that for instance, if we played in the spring, Sam Howell would have last year, spring and fall, and after 3 years of eligibility, he'd be opting for the draft. So there's a lot of things people have to look at. If we decide to move to the spring, what about high school football? What about the draft? What about the combine? I want us to do whatever's safe for the players, but I also want us to have a plan. I want people to tell us what this means. Not just we're going to do it, because then everybody starts going in their own direction and starts making up stuff. So let's have a definitive plan to start on time. If that's what I've tried to do in my life. If that doesn't work, let's have a definitive plan if we're going to move it back. If that doesn't work, let's have a definitive plan for spring practice. And let's make sure that we're all on the same page and fighting for the right stuff with the kids being healthy. I don't think it's all about money right now, because you can make the money in the spring. Because the money right now, the way it looks, is going to be more about TV than it is fans. Because nobody's going to have a lot of fans in the stands. So if the money's not an issue, it can't be anything except the kids wanting to play and the doctors deciding whether it's safe or not. And that's kind of where I am with the whole thing.
Thank you so much, Coach.
Thanks, JB.
Okay, next up, Brian Keys.
Hey, Mack. I've got 2 unrelated questions. The first one is, have you heard anything in regards to eligibility for players like DJ Ford who have opted out, whether or not they'll be allowed to come back next year?
Brian, I think that is being considered by the NCAA right now. The way I understand, if DJ wants to come back, for instance, what we would do is put in an appeal for him if he wants another year. And then like any other 5th year, 6th year, the NCAA would have to decide whether they would grant that to him or not. But
Okay,
that's
but
an NCAA rule. It's not our rule.
okay. And then the second one is just ignoring all the stuff with the Big Ten, which nothing from that has been confirmed, but looking at a smaller conference like the Mid-American, where they've postponed it, they haven't canceled it, but saying just not necessarily that they think it's unsafe, but that they just don't know enough information to say definitively that it is safe. Does that, does seeing smaller conferences and independent schools like UConn or JMU opting out of playing football in the fall just give you pause about the plan to move forward right now?
Brian, it doesn't, because all universities are very different and leagues are very different. And I would tend to, I will just listen to our medical people first at UNC, and then I'll listen to the medical people in the state, and then listen to the medical consultants. I think there's a group of them that work with the ACC. Because everybody's different and everybody has different opinions. You just think about how this virus has changed over the last 6 months, and people have said this, and no, it's changed to this and it's changed to that. So it would be wrong for me to comment on some of the group of 5 schools that are not playing, or those leagues that aren't playing, because I really don't know enough about their structure or who they are. I wasn't involved with their conversations. I've been very involved with our conversations, and I have not been involved a lot with our medical staff, except to ask them questions. Our medical staff has made all the decisions here. I haven't made any. And I've told the players that if we don't play, it's best for you, because they have said and determined you're not safe. If we do play, they have determined you are safe, and they meaning the medical staff. So what I've done, Brian, and I'm proud of myself. It's hard for coaches to stay out of things. You want to be in charge of everything, and you want to run everything. And I don't know enough about the safety. I do know that here that we are doing everything possible to make sure every one of these young guys is safe from a medical standpoint, from a university standpoint, and we as coaches. And I have told our coaches, I've even walked up to some guys that didn't look like they felt very well and said, hey, go sit in the shade for a minute. Go over there. And they haven't even had COVID, but I'd just say, take a break, get some water, because there's so much stress and there's so much difference in our lives right now. I want to make sure these guys are comfortable. And I'm also glad, I think we're about 30 days from playing Syracuse. We've got time. We've got a lot. We all worried about how much time are these guys going to have to prepare. We've got plenty of time. So we're going slow. We're being careful with them. We're trying to work the young ones a lot. We're trying to make sure everybody's in top shape. Because we started school on Monday, we're into the 20 hours a week. So they had yesterday off. Next week, we're giving them 2 days off. We're giving them a walkthrough on Thursday. So we are going slow, and we're making sure that works. But even with our guys, I've said, every university is different, much less every league. And then you start getting the difference in Power 5 and Group of 5. And that's why all the Power 5 commissioners talk to each other and visit with each other, because there's more likes in the Power 5 than there is the Group of 5 in Power 5. So when you're talking to someone that's more like you, they can make more decisions together.
All right. Thank you.
Thank you, Brian.
Next up, Andrea Adelson.
Hey, Mack, in the conversations that you've had over the last couple of days, has there been any indication that the ACC would be willing to play on if other Power 5 conferences decide they did not feel comfortable playing?
Andrea, it's another great question, but that's one you'd have to ask Bubba and Kevin. That's above me. Bubba knows that I want to play. If it's safe, he knows our staff and our players want to play. But again, I think since this is so fluid right now, everybody's talking to everybody else about what possibilities might happen. And if somebody doesn't play, what would we do? Just like JB asked, or somebody asked about playing in another league. I haven't heard that, because I know our league wants to play. So that hasn't even been brought up. If some of the others don't play, I don't know what that does for us. You know, you have to look at the NCAA structure with championships. You have to look at the college football playoff and what that would mean for them. You have to look at the bowl games. And then you have to look at, you might not be playing your +1, but then would you play within your own league with 8? And I don't see leagues playing by themselves. I think if you see 3 or 4 of the leagues saying they don't think it's healthy, then I think that people across the country would really be concerned that if enough people think it's not safe, then why would we do it?
Great. Next up is Brendan Marks.
Hey, Mack, thanks so much for taking the time. I know you had mentioned that the doctors have sort of been guiding you guys as far as any decision-making that you do. I'm just wondering, I know a couple of the other conferences have mentioned they've seen evidence come out about this heart condition. I'm probably going to butcher the pronunciation of it, myocarditis. Or I was just wondering if the doctors had mentioned anything to you about that, or if that had given them any reason to potentially pause, or how that factored into the decision-making process you guys have right now.
Brendan, after a positive test and quarantine, our guys go through a complete EKG and complete heart checkup. And it takes a number of days past quarantine before the doctors will allow them to return to practice. So they're putting them through a very intense and thorough examination of their heart before we would have them come back on the field. So I feel very, very comfortable that our people are doing everything right for these young people. And I think that's why they want to play. If some felt like that they're going to throw me back out there and not even check my heart, we would not do that here. So I feel very, very good that every one of them has been checked out and then held out a couple of days after their EKG to make sure that they're good. And that's also the reason that we are easing back in. We're not out here for 4-hour practices in the heat. We're going slow. We're some in the heat, and we'll come back to the indoor, but we're making sure that everybody's okay before we get started at a full pace.
Thank you.
Thank you, Brendan.
Okay, over to Ross Martin.
Excuse me, Mark. I told the team this morning that the 2 concerns that doctors have across the country are the heart and breathing. I said those are the 2. So we talked about it this morning. So I said, if you feel anything with your heart, or if you have trouble breathing, because it may be the mask, it may be the double shields, where we're all going through new stuff anyway, let us know and take yourself out. So we have been very transparent. I mean, we have told them everything, and they read everything now anyway. So we just feel like I've told the staff everything I know, and I've told the players everything I know. And then I have the trainers or the doctors in every meeting. And if the players want to ask them a question, I always say to Luke Ross, our trainer, I'm not a doctor. I don't know what I'm talking about. This is something that I read last night. This is something I saw on TV. Make sure that I'm telling them this like I should. And he'll go, Coach, that's fine. You're right. But we want our guys to know what's going on.
Gotcha. Thank you.
Okay, Ross, you're up now.
Hey, Mack, a little on-the-field football question here for you. I was wondering, you've spoken a lot about Austin Richards and Joshua Ezeudu. What have each done individually to improve from the end of last season, off-season to now?
Ross, I think the biggest difference with both of them is confidence. Obviously, Austin was a freshman, and he backed up at right tackle, but he got to play quite a bit, and that helped him. We could have redshirted him probably, but we needed depth, especially when Charlie Heck broke his finger and Jordan Tucker had a hurt knee at Wake Forest, so we got thin fast. But I think that both of those guys right now have a lot of confidence. And Josh would probably be the backup tackle on both sides, or we'd probably move Josh right now to left tackle if Austin was, or if Jordan Tucker was out, and move Austin back to right tackle. So we're trying to get 10 offensive linemen that can play. We'll probably be lucky to have 8, but we've got to have 8, and we didn't have that last year. and we feel like that those two guys are playing at a high level.
Could you provide a little insight into what's going on at center? I know Anderson obviously started a lot last year, but Ty Murray is I think, pushing for that position as well.
Yes. Ty and Brian are alternating and doing a good job. And also, we're really excited about Jonathan Adorno. He is playing backup left tackle, and he's playing center, along with Ty Murray. So we also feel like that so many of our players had to play 96 snaps last year or something, and they got tired. So we're really, really pushing for two deep. So if Brian's doing a great job, we need either Ty or Jonathan to take half his snaps or take a third of his snaps so he'll be fresh.
Awesome. Great insight. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Ross.
Okay, Greg Barnes, you're up next.
Mike, I wanted to ask you about the other side of the line. How are things shaping up, with the defensive line there at the tackle positions and the end?
Greg, the most improved player maybe on our team from this time last year, I think, is Ray Bahasik. He is all over the place. He's quick. He's over 300 pounds. He's in great shape. He's making great grades. I'm so excited about Ray and what he brings to us. We've had trouble blocking him at all. So he's improved so much. Jaleel Taylor's had a little bit of a sore shoulder, so he hadn't been in there in the team stuff as much. But also you've got Tyrone Hopper that looks really good. You've got Tamon Fox that looks really good. And then Tamari's playing both places. He's playing inside and outside. So we're really excited about him and the progress that he's making. And then you've got the two young outside linebackers with Des Evans and Kamen Rucker. And those guys are doing a really good job. And I'm so proud of the older guys teaching the younger guys. And then you've also got Chris Collins, who redshirted, and he's coming on. So we feel like we've got to build depth inside with guys like Kristen Varner and Kevin Hester. They haven't played very much, so they're working hard. And they both redshirted last year. And then you've got Miles Murphy, who's made a lot of plays. You've got Clyde Pender. Clyde's been a little sick. He's been in and out some and hurt his hand a little bit, so he's been more limited. But I think that the biggest thing for us is we've got to figure out who the best two deep are, and if we can get a three deep, we can. But I'm probably leaving somebody out. I told Jeremy next time we talk to you, bring a roster, a depth chart, so I can sit here and see them. I always leave somebody out. If you all have got it, is there anybody I'm leaving out that you can think about, Greg?
No, that I can think of.
Yeah, but all of those guys look good. And A.J. Beatty has made some good plays. He's another young one. So I just feel like what we've got to do is in a weird way, the fact that the NCAA let us have walkthroughs, and now we've got extra practice for our opening game. We can probably do more with these young ones than we thought we could, because if we had 4 weeks and they didn't know anything when they got here, we were going to have to just put them in a package, and we may still do that. But right now we're getting to coach them, and they're getting a lot of reps.
Aaron Crawford was kind of locked in at nose, last year. Do you have a set nose position now, or is there going to be more flexibility up front?
I think they're going to have to play all the positions, and that's what we're working at. You've got if we played today and Jaleel's shoulder was 100%, it would probably be Jaleel and Ray in the middle, and then it would be Tyrone and Tamon on the outside. Tyrone Hopper looks good. I hope he'll stay healthy, because he's really playing at a high level, and Tamon plays great all the time. And then Tamari rotating, because he can play all 4 positions. And I thought it was really cool yesterday to look up and see Tamon and Tamari at the defensive ends. And we're not talking about first team, second team. We're talking about blue team. And we'd like to have 25 blue team players. So we've said, get off who's on the first team and quit worrying about it. Get to play. And you want to play, and how many snaps do you get to play? So we're putting young ones in. Like today, we put in Eugene Asante and Kadri Jackson with the blue team, with the blue defensive line up front, and said, we want you to be part of the blue team. So make it where when we take Chaz and Jeremiah out, that not everybody's saying, oh my gosh, what are they doing in there? We want you to be good players. Now, maybe you can play 10 and they play 25, but you make your 10 as good as their 25. And that's what we're trying to do, Greg, to make this thing work better.
Thanks, Mack.
And it helps morale, and obviously with the virus and people maybe getting sick, it gives you more depth.
Thanks.
Next up is Kiara Locke.
Hey, Coach, how are you?
Good, Kiara. How are you?
I'm good. This is a really easy question. I just wanted to see how you were doing concerning just learning so much information in such a short amount of time, and, keeping not only your team informed, but also your staff. Just how are you doing and holding up in all of this?
Kiara, I had trouble this spring some because I'm watching people die and watching people get sick and watching people lose their jobs and not eat. Then the protest, I really had trouble with people burning down businesses of honest people that had spent all their life savings to build a restaurant, and then somebody burn it down. And then we had some guys get positives, and I really struggled with that because I didn't want anybody sick. You want to be in control of everything, and I haven't been, and Sally's helped me a lot, but I understand now that this is a time where I've really got to be strong and be a leader, and I've got to be a leader for our staff. I told them yesterday, don't you pout, and one of them said something about, man, this is really a roller coaster. I said, it doesn't matter. Your job is to make sure that you take care of your players. That's your job. You're leading those players in your room. So worry about their mental health, make sure they're okay physically. But at the same time, addictions are so high right now across the country. Kiara, I've probably read too much and listened so much to every little thing about the virus, trying to get information from our doctors, from our trainers, so I can help our players. They may even listen to me more than they would listen to a doctor or a trainer. So I've got to get them to listen to the doctors and the trainers and take this stuff serious. But I really feel like, and one night I was sitting there pouting about, we may not even play, and ladies are smarter than the guys in a lot of cases. Sally said, you know what? You shouldn't want to play if the kids aren't healthy, if they're not safe. And she said, we got people losing their lives. We got people that can't eat. We got people losing their jobs. We've got people who have been treated poorly with lack of equality. So football's a minor part of this. And so I got a lecture one night late about you need to grow up, and it's your job to help these kids. It's your job to help your staff. It's your job to lead and be strong, and make sure everybody has every bit of information they possibly can. So since that happened, Kiara, and I've been really safe. I've been walking. I've been trying to eat right. I'm trying to do everything right because I know the kids are worried about me, because I tell them I'm in that experienced age group that people worry about. But I'm doing really, really well because it's my job to stand up and lead this team. And that's what Kevin and Bubba hired me for. That's what our trustees hired me for. And I'm going to do it. And I'm going to do a darn good job of it. And I'm not sure I did all at times in the spring because like everybody else, it just got me. I even watched some psychologist on TV say that when we have things we love taken away from us, that there's a certain amount of depression or anxiety that kicks in. And I'm not sure I didn't sit there some and pout because I wasn't getting to see the players. We didn't have spring practice. And I told one of our coaches the other day, he said, we didn't even have spring. I said, you know what? Nobody else did either. So come on, man. This isn't just happening to you. This is happening to everybody. So what we've got to do is make sure that we all reach out and help each other.
Okay, next up. Sorry, next up, Art Chansky.
Hey, Art. Art, I think you're muted. Yeah.
Hey, Sally is quite a gem. Where'd you find her to begin with?
For you all to know, and I really hate to admit this, but Art talked Sally in and me into going to a dinner party, and then we found out there were only 4 people there. And I have talked to or seen Sally every day of my life since that night. So how bad is it that Art Chansky put us together?
I couldn't answer any of your questions, so I had to find somebody who could, you know. So. Hey, look, my question is, you've talked about safety a lot. ACC's from Florida to New York. What if Florida? Are you going to go with you're going to go with the ACC no matter what they decide? But if Florida turns out to be not as safe as New York, and North Carolina's doing a pretty good job, do you see the possibility of going to your AD and your chancellor and getting together with Duke and State and Wake Forest, and whether it's practice games or anything like that in the spring, do you ever see it getting to that point where you feel like you're safe, but some of the other states in the league are not safe?
Art, I felt like, just in listening, number one, we have not discussed that at all. I felt like in what I've heard that either the league will play or we will not. That's what I felt like. And they haven't even discussed if one team, and this is a question for all of us at some point, if one team, if we're playing the regular season that we have scheduled and one team has too many positives and doesn't want to play that week, do they forfeit the game? There's a lot of unanswered questions still, but I think the biggest one is, do we play and do we start on time? So I think until we get to that point, they probably haven't looked down the road that far.
Thanks, Coach.
Thanks, Art. All right, over to Gregory Hall.
Mack, I was just curious how you anticipate the tight ends to be utilized this year with John Lilly coming in, and what do you see Garrett Walston being a part of in your offense this season?
Yeah, Greg, we've got John Copenhaver, we've got Kendall Carr, and both of them are doing well. We've got Kamari Morales, who redshirted I think he redshirted last year. Yeah, he did, Jeremy said. I thought we played him on some kick teams, but I thought we pulled him back after the 4 games. And then you've got Garrett Walston. We think Garrett's really good. He's doing a better job of playing in the line of scrimmage with his blocking, but he is a weapon in his route running and his ability to get open and catch. He's got tremendous hands. So we're excited about what we're doing with the tight ends, and John's done a really good job. When you walk in with John's resume into the position meeting room, you have credibility when you walk in. So the kids are really excited about it, and I'm seeing the same thing with Javon DeWitt. The fact that he worked for Jay 2 years, worked with Jay 2 years at Army, and he's been so good in special teams. I think they blocked 6 or 7 kicks the last few years. We got really good drills, and the kids are excited about that too. But I think John is excited about this offense. The kids are excited, and we're a year older in the offense, a year older in the defense, with only one new coach on both sides, and a lot of the players back. So we've got a lot of continuity, and I think that's why I feel like we've looked well early.
And then what's different about Chaz and Jeremiah this season, and how can they repeat last year, even with a little bit more attention on them?
Yeah, Gregory, good question. But this time last year, they'd never played in a college game at linebacker. I mean, I actually was absolutely scared to death when we went to South Carolina. I thought, I've never thought about being a head coach and going into a game with 2 linebackers who have never played in a game at linebacker in college. And one of them's a quarterback. I mean, I thought it might be a disaster. And those guys played about every snap last year. So they're bigger, they're stronger, they're responding quicker because they've gotten so many reps and they've seen so much and studied so much video that their instincts are better right now than they were, and obviously because they haven't played that much. And they're confident. They're actually helping those young linebackers. What we've got to do is get it where the young linebackers can take pressure off Chaz and Jeremiah that they don't ever play. And then we'd love to have guys like those two be superstars on special teams. And I'm so proud of Chaz. He could have gone to the NFL, and he's been very direct that people have asked him, agents tried to get him to, and he wants to play. And so he's good for him. He made the decision with his family. But how cool is that family to have Sage at Wake Forest and Chaz here and two top pro prospects? That family has to be very, very proud. And they're both great young people, and they're both really smart. So they're to me, they're one of the best brother duos in college football.
Jeremiah mentioned that him and Chaz are working together more in the film room. What's a benefit of that, and how important is it for them to be on the same page?
One of the biggest things is that they can adjust to things more quickly on the field because they get their terminology together. And Jay's defense is very complicated. So it really, really helps to have those two out there. They can adjust to anything. They've seen everything. So now if somebody comes out and we haven't seen an empty backfield and no backs in the backfield for the whole season, those guys, they know what to go to immediately. So I think that's the biggest thing, that they can adjust to each other. And the other thing is there's timing with his feel and him coming behind him and blitzing, and they've got this thing down really good. So I expect both of them to have a special year.
Thank you.
And Jeremiah's about 230 now. He's a lot bigger and has not lost any quickness or speed.
Thanks, Mack.
And Chaz is one of the guys on our team that can walk around with his shirt off. And all the coaches tell him to put it on. We don't want you standing around our wives. They'd compare us to you.
Next up is Hunter Nelson.
Hey, Coach. So I know that you mentioned a lot that depth this season is going to be a big focus with, a lot of the unknowns going on. But 3 of your players that opted out were defensive backs. So with that being mentioned, what have you seen so far from like Jacurious Conley and Tony Grimes, and what have they contributed so far? And how do you think they can contribute to this team moving forward?
It's Hunter, it is a concern, but we were really heavy in that area with depth. And so we're not to a point now where we started looking like we were last year. You've got Obi that's back, and you've got some other guys. D.D. Hollins is playing well. Gio Biggers has picked it up since the other guys opted out. But Jacurious Conley is a tremendous athlete. Tony Grimes is a tremendous athlete. They're 2 of the best young high school players in the country last year, and they look really good. Tony Grimes doesn't look like he should be starting his senior year in high school. And Jacurious Conley nobody's blocked him yet, and he can fly. And we'll get Jeremy to get you the exact weight, but I think Jacurious is up to 225 and can fly. He hadn't lost any weight whatsoever. So we feel like those 2 guys will play immediately.
Okay, and just one quick question about Sam Howell. I know last season that was sort of the storyline of the offseason was who was going to be starting against South Carolina. And Sam Howell was just a true freshman, so he had youth on his side and everything like that. But as the season went on and as the year went on, how have you seen him grow as a leader of this team, and how do you think that'll benefit the offense and just the team moving forward?
2 of the words we use, Hunter, are fair and consistent. And then we always say, do what you know is the right thing to do. And that's Sam. Sam's the same person every day. The person that you see when you interview him is the person we see. He doesn't say a whole lot. He works so hard. He has no hobbies. He goes to class. He does a great job. And he goes to the office and watches film, that video. That's it. That's all he does in his life. And the players know that, and they respect that, and they really believe in him, and they rally around him. And so he'll be more confident starting this year than he was even finishing last year. He's healthy, so he'll be able to make plays with his feet, which we couldn't allow him to do last year after Cade transferred and Jace got hurt. because we didn't have experience behind him. And I think he's even more accurate now than he was at any time last year. He's got a great touch on the short ball, but he's also hitting the deep ball. And he knows the offense probably better than Longo. So he's over there with him every minute of every day. So he just knows where to go with the ball. And it's amazing to me. He does some things at this level that NFL quarterbacks are still doing. But he can go from one side of the field to the other very quickly, and not many people can do that.
Awesome. Thank you for your time today, Coach.
Thanks, Hunter.
Okay, back over to Brendan Marks.
Hey, Max. Sorry, one more thing. I forget who it was, but someone asked about the "We Want to Play" movement, and I know you had mentioned Trevor Lawrence's comments as well. One of the addendums or bullet points under that was the idea of creating some sort of either a union, a players association. I was just wondering what you'd heard from your guys as far as that's concerned, and if that's something that you would be in favor of supporting in some form or fashion.
Brandon, I think if you get in touch with if you start thinking about a union, then they have to be paid, there's taxes, and it gets complicated. Because I remember when Northwestern went through this 4 or 5 years ago, and I was out and able to talk to lawyers and legal counsel. And I don't think that works as well for the guys from what I heard at that time. I haven't studied it since then. But we have it on our own team. We choose a leadership committee in the spring, and then we let the players choose a leadership committee in the fall, after fall camp. And that group is a very powerful voice with us. We're meeting with them today to talk about the names on the back of the jerseys. The NBA and the NFL and now college football is letting you put just about anything you want on your nameplate, and there can be a decal on the front. Way I'm understanding it, the decal has to be the same for everybody. The name on the back can change. We'll let our players make those decisions, and we're meeting with them this afternoon to ask them. We've talked to our players a lot about racial injustice. We've talked to our players about making sure the young ones are comfortable if they're afraid to talk to us. And we just ask them, are you all really comfortable playing? Or are you making it look like you are? So I think we need more of a voice nationally. I don't like the fact that young people threaten not to play. I don't think that helps anything. To me, let's talk. Let's figure out what you need. Like I took the proposal from the United group in the Big Ten a week ago, whenever it came out, and I went over every one of them with our team and staff. And we were already doing just about everything on there. So I said, if we're going to ask for things, let's make sure, number one, they're not already being done, and let's make sure you need them. Let's make sure they help you, because you got a good deal. So let's don't mess this deal up. If we can improve it, we'd like to improve that every year. And I think every coach feels that way. So we've just got to keep looking at enhancing the experience of the student athlete and their families, but not go crazy here and lose who we are. And very honestly, the families and the players can tell us more what they need than we know sometimes. We may be working on things they don't want or they don't need. So tell us. I think in our country, we've got to do a better job of talking to each other and, as I said early, honor each other's differences and make sure that what we're doing is fair. And if we do that, this is not that complicated, and we're not doing that all the time. So we all need to do it. So is this going to revamp college athletics? There's going to be some changes, and they're going to be real. And we've got to make sure that we get it right when we get the changes.
And just to clarify, that leadership council you guys have is voted on the players, I guess. They're selecting the people they want representing them?
We selected it this spring because we didn't have spring practice. We selected it last spring because we didn't know the players, and some of them didn't know the new guys coming in. So we have a leadership council right now of 23 guys, I think, 4 or 5 from each class and some walk-on guys as well. As soon as we get to the end of camp, maybe the week or 10 days before the Syracuse game, we will let the players vote. I will be the only one that sees the votes. Each player has to put his name on the list. So if there's somebody on there that gets no votes except yours, I have the right to bring him in and say, why'd you vote for him? Tell me. And then if there's somebody who got a lot of votes but didn't get as many as you would need to be on it, I have the right to put them on, and I can take anybody off. So I think that's the other thing that that would happen from that standpoint.
Gotcha. Thank you very much.
Thank you. And if somebody messes up, if they break a rule, if they get in trouble, I have the right to take them off that committee, and they know that.
Gotcha. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
Okay, I think last one up. I think we started with Deanna. We'll wrap up with Deanna King today.
Coach, the running back position, you got the luxury of having Javonte Williams and Michael Carter back there. Who in that group is stepped up in these 5 past practices in the running back group?
Deanna, we've got 2 of the best running backs in the country. In fact, when people talk about the running back room, they should add ours to it because they're interchangeable. And that's what I'm talking about for our team. When you can put either one of those guys in the game and you don't see a difference because they can both do everything, it really helps you as a team. We've been very impressed with British Brooks. He's a young guy that's walked on, but he was voted by the players last year as a special teams player of the year. And he's a tough back that helps us. But at the same time, we like both young backs. What you do with the young guys after 4 practices, or 5 practices, 2 in shorts and 3 in shells, is you actually sit there and say, would you have recruited them again? And it's too quick to know. But on the short term, that's the first thing you say. And we like both Elijah Green and DJ Jones. They're both very talented. They're both fast. We haven't tackled them yet, even though we've been in shells. But we like both of them. So we think that's going to be a really strong room for us.
Thank
you. And excuse me, Josh Henderson last year played a lot in special teams, and that's what he did most. But he also came in, and he was a force at the end of the game because he was so physical. And he would be right now in kind of that Antonio Williams mode where you can put a big 210-pound back at the end of the game and have him with a 4-minute offense beating the clock, and he also has really good hands.